Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of Kamen Rider Ex-Aid episode, I said Ex-Aid really funny, episode 9 I believe. Quick note here at the beginning, if you are looking for my JoJo review, which usually comes out the same day as this, I am doubling it up with episode 41 because it is a very busy week. I'm catching up on Ninja Steel and Power Rangers movie reviews. Those need to take priority. This week's JoJo was pretty much a trash filler, so I had like 3 minutes to say about it, so I'm doubling up next week, so look forward to that next week. But I wanted to get Ex-Aid out as normal because it was a good episode, so this should be going, this might be a little late by like a day or two, maybe. I'm not sure yet, but it's going out the regular week. Anyway, that's 45 seconds of updates. Now let's talk about this episode, which was a really strong episode. Probably one of the best for me in terms of escalating things. Ex-Aid's been good at doing that in general. But I first want to note something that I really liked, especially since I talked about it quite a bit last week, about how Ex-Aid has been doing a good job at balancing its toy introductions, but I still wish it was a little bit slowed down, and I talked about corporate stuff. But I wanted to bring that up again because they actually handled it even better than I thought. I still stand by that I would have liked a buffer episode of some sort with no introduction of anything. But that being said, we did get introduced to the level 5 Gashat and the form in a manner of speaking, but it wasn't a rushed, it's all introduced and fine. It was very much so the first part of the story about it. We were introduced to the prototype last week, and now the actual one this week, which he needed data for. And once he got the data for it, Ex-Aid transformed into level 5 with all the dragon pieces on him. But it is too much for him to handle, very Dead Heat-esque. And the episode basically ends with that he can't handle it on his own. And they even describe that this game it's based off of is 4-player cooperative, which is, that's something I love about Ex-Aid, is it's so true to the video game theme. I cannot wait to see the Ex-Aid episode about a boring escort mission. Not really, though. I mean, it would be amusing. Actually, that episode would be better than most escort missions. Like, for real, who decided that was a fun mission type? Anyway, but yeah, I love stuff like that it's 4-player co-op, and that makes sense. It's very video gamey. And if you didn't already know, if you don't follow scans and news, the Dragon form will split amongst the 4 core riders, Ex-Aid, Snipe, Brave, and Laser. And then obviously we saw the complete form here. I'm not sure, because again, I look at the scans, but I don't read them. I'm a child. I just look at the pictures. Sometimes people will read them to me if I'm talking to them, but I don't have enough care to actually read about what's happening. So I'm assuming we'll see the full-on form in a different way later, possibly even the next episode. But it does split up, and that's the 4-player co-op thing, so I just really like the way it was done, both in terms of the concept of the 4-player co-op and in terms of not making it feel rushed, which is, hey look, got the Gashat out, kids can go buy it now, but we're not done with the story. It's very much so a first part, so that was well done. Also, in terms of plot things that were introduced, the patient this week was the doctor that inspired Emu, that's such a funny name still, to become a doctor, which inspired him to do his favorite activity, whining. But he had much more of an emotional investment this week, which was interesting. It gave for a very brief conflict between him and Brave, which is something I want to talk about in a second, which wasn't in the episode, it's just kind of an overall discussion point. But that is interesting in general, to have a patient important to him. More important to him than the average Joe, which is already important to him. But it also hinted at the fact that his surgery that he performed on Emu years ago was not on the up and up, and was somehow related to all this Ex-Aid stuff, which was very cool, because it's not only a cool point, but it's something that's continued on from a week or 2 weeks, possibly, a plot thread that's continued on, which Laser has been investigating, because it was brought up last week that you need a surgery to access a rider system, and seemingly Emu didn't have it, and the explanation of that is somehow tied to what happened in the past, and it's possible that his idol as a doctor may not be what he seems in terms of why he's idolizing him, and also it's all more connected, which is cool, because not only is that an interesting character story and an interesting plot point, but it isn't like oh, Emu's the chosen one that can just use a rider system without a surgery. I mean, there's still pretty much have the Emu is the chosen one, Genius Gamer M stuff, but you know, they're not doubling down on the Chosen One stuff. So I like that, and I like that it's being continued from a previous story, or it's been built up rather from a plot point, and I think that's neat, and I like the way that's playing out. We'll see in the next week or two. I don't know how long they're going to wait, because I know Dragon's kind of the focus, but that's very cool. I like that. The whole needing something in your system to access it is very Fize-y. But so, yeah, suck it, Fize fans. But yeah, I just really like that. The one thing I wanted to touch on that isn't necessarily about this episode specifically, which is because when Brave and Ex-Aid had a brief conflict in which Brave just pushed Ex-Aid. It was almost like Decade was coming in there. Oh no, Decado! That was really weak, man. Anyway, I'm getting weird. The point is, with their different philosophies, I'm thinking about it specifically because of how much I dislike Emu's approach. I really want an episode in the future that really tackles that head on. I usually don't like those much as much as other plot episodes, but I'd love an episode to tackle their different approaches and have them come to an understanding of each other's style in terms of not just respecting it, but possibly implementing a mix of it. Just because I like conflict, but that argument for every patient is going to get old, because Emu's approach is basically a more cautious, coddle the patient, make sure they don't get stressed out, approach everything very varyingly. That wasn't even what I was going to say. Very cautiously. And Brave's more like a, let's get it fixed now so there's no problems. Like, don't worry about giving the patient an extra pillow and sending him to his factory. Let's just fix it and don't worry about him. Then it's done and you don't have to worry about it. And I think they're both valid approaches. I probably more so agree with Brave. Like, fix them first and then pamper them. But I just want to see that be tackled in the future. But that's not necessarily about this episode. And I don't actually have too much to say more individually about this episode. I'm keeping it a little bit shorter just because, again, I have a lot of Ninja Steel stuff to do, so I don't want so many videos coming out that are long on one day. But overall, this was a really strong episode. And like I said, again, to repeat myself, I commend them for how they're handling the level 5 stuff. Very nice. I really like this episode. Looking forward to next week. 7.7, I would say. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure you have the Crazy Podcast at writersrangeexamples.com. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Dawson Rider, signing out.